In this video, we'll be going through the House Cup administration system. This video is only for people who have administrator access, which, depending on your school, could be any number of people, but will at least include your administration team. Upon logging in using the URL that you'll be provided with, we will skip the dashboard because that will probably be rewritten into something that's a little bit more coherent. But this gives you the ability to monitor and manage most of the things that can be done in the system. The first thing we'll look at is the activities. The activities list is what appears in the drop-down when they go to score something. This is pre-entered stuff that guarantees that people can actually have a fair amount given, so that talking out of turn is, in this case, -5 points. Regardless of what teacher gives it out. If it's done custom, they may have different amounts. So it gives you a little bit of consistency, and it makes it easier to enter in points that are or activities that are fairly common. To add a new activity, we can actually just click the new activity button right here that's nice and big, and fill it out. So we'll give this a name. We'll call this the test activity, and we'll give it a point value. It can be either positive or negative, so let's just say this is going to be 20 points, and you create the activity. From here, you can click back to activities and see that it's been added to our list. There are filters on the side here if you wanted to sort by everything that's worth 20 points or something like that, or has a certain name. There's also the ability to delete or edit, as well as view the current ones. So if we wanted to edit this and maybe change it to test task or something like that, you can do so, clicking update. It will tell you if there's anything wrong, like if you don't put a required field in or something like that. But overall, this is pretty basic. The admin users, this actually allows you to provision additional admin users. So in this case, we could make a new user, say you get a new assistant principal or something like that. You can actually make them a new account, providing an email and a password. There is one caveat. If you go to actually edit one of these, you are required to change their password when you edit this. This is done so that they have to be made aware of it, that you are changing their password, or otherwise editing their stuff. Though in general, you probably won't have to do this. Next up, we have our list of houses. This is fairly straightforward. You will see the name of the house and the number of points that they currently have. Within this, you can obviously view, edit, and delete, very similar to the previous one, add a new house. One thing in particular, and there is some people or some schools who choose to do this, if you want to reset the points, you can go in and delete all of the point assignments. You'll lose all the historical data that you have for that. The other way of doing it is to actually go into here and just manually reset the number of points. You can do that by just going into here and setting this to 0 with the number of points. This is actually the live amount, so as soon as you change it, the points go back to 0. So if you're doing something like a 6 weeks competition, or resetting it every month, this is how you can easily go in and actually change these values. So the next thing will be the the names of the members. Members is an abstraction for people who have a house. So typically this will be your students, but it can also be staff as well, in the case that you wanted to have staff able to give points to one another or something like that. If you're going to be adding a lot of people, say at the beginning of the year, the best method of doing this is to just send us an Excel spreadsheet with this information, like what house they're in, their name, their grade, and their badge ID. If you do it that way, this will allow us to bulk import the data. Otherwise, if you get a transfer student in the middle of the year and you need to add them, you can add them just as a new member. But otherwise, again, there's the same validations that will be put in place. You can delete them, you can sort them by the number of houses and filter by badge ID and so on and so forth. There is an additional function on this specific page called the behavior report. Teachers can print off their own behavior reports that only contain the information of what assignments they're doing for a student. This behavior report, unlike that one, will pull all available data about the student. So in this case, if I want to generate a report of all teachers' activity about Abe Sapien, you can click this. You will get an email to your email that's registered as this account. which will tell you the download link to download the report. From there, you can, of course, distribute that out as you see fit. But this one does have all the information available from all teachers or staff needed. So the system logs all assignments under this point assignment. An assignment is points given out to a student or a house. You don't have to assign it to a student, and they will be assigned to a house based on the student automatically. So from here, you can see a list. If you've named your staff, you should see actually names instead of these links to the side right here. But you'll see if it's a set activity in this case or custom activity, as well as what notes they've provided and when it was made. There are a couple of things that this is especially useful for. This is especially useful if you're looking for signs of abuse. People get a little competitive. Sometimes they will actually add a lot of points that aren't deserved. You can see that fairly easily. For instance, if I wanted to say, all right, I want to see all points put out by a specific person, you can select that person's name. It will filter out to show just them. So for instance, if you see they've added 200 points and they're within seconds of each other and it's all to one student or to one house, that might tell you that there's something a little iffy that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, this more or less just shows you a log of every entry, so you can also check to see if people are using it and when they're putting in points. For the schools page, you will only see your specific school on here, and the only thing that you can set in here is you can rename the school if you choose to do so. There is also this about system. There is an about page if you choose to fill it out on the main House Cup site. That will allow you to go in and actually make your own page. You can upload images and things like that. Past that, there's not a whole lot here that you would need to actually go in and do anything for. The next part is the settings. The Gradery House Cup system is built in a modular fashion so that you can turn on and turn off different pieces of functionality more or less at will. For the majority of schools that we've onboarded so far, they have chosen to have us manage these settings for them. We do have these fully documented if you want to go in and learn how to play with these yourself. It affects everything from the functionality, the look of the site, what is and isn't required for teachers to fill out when they're adding points, things like that. As we add new modules of functionality or change how existing ones work, we do occasionally go in and add new values to these. And we will let you know if there's any new features that we think are especially cool that you might like. So lastly, we have our staffs page. Staff, again, being an abstraction, means teachers, administrators, lunchroom attendants, you name it. Who can all have accounts. Anybody who has an account in this staff section has the ability to go in and actually add points via logging in through the main site. If you are an admin user, you do need to have an additional account in this staffs, so you might want to have a different password, for instance. This also tracks the house that the person is in if you are a school that has your teachers in houses as well. Not all schools do that. If so, you are required to put a house. You can just put any of them. This is really just for your record keeping, so you can have bad houses if you want. So all people will have a name, an email address, a house, and a grade that they teach. The grades are provided in the settings. We will set that up for you when you get onboarded, but generally works as a drop down. Again, just like with the members, if you are going to be, let's say we're onboarding you for the first time, or you've had a fairly significant amount of turnover and maybe you have 50 new teachers or something like that coming in. Again, an Excel sheet's the best way to give us the information, and we can bulk enter it fairly quickly. If not, if you just have a new teacher coming in the middle of the year or something like that, you can fill this out. It will tell you things like if the passwords don't match, what has to be filled out if it doesn't, the passwords don't match up or aren't long enough or anything like that. Again, making it fairly easy for you to manage. This is not something that necessarily has to be, most of this will not have to be viewed regularly. Most of our schools are using the point assignments to check for abuse. They occasionally look at the dashboard. The dashboard's not especially useful, but we'll be redoing that in the next release so that it is a lot more user-friendly in terms of how you use it and interact with the graphs and things like that. As always, if you do have any questions, shoot us an email on the support link. Again, we react to tickets fairly quickly. And let us know if you have any new requests or anything that you think would be a really nice feature to add, and we'll definitely see what we can do. Thank you.